Welcome to Survey and Beyond, the data collection podcast by SurveyCTO. We share expert insights and practical tips on data collection and analysis, discuss innovative methods and tools to enhance data quality and security, and demystify complex data concepts to help people collecting data all around the world. I'm your host, Marta Costa. Joining us today is Maulik Chauhan, the founder and managing director of Trestle Research, a technology-driven social enterprise that supports NGOs, not-for-profits, and academic institutions in collecting high-quality data to drive social impact. As the India lead for SurveyCTO, Maulik plays a pivotal role in expanding the platform's use across the country, helping organizations transition to digital data collection methods that enhance the accuracy and integrity of their work. With over a decade of experience in data collection and analysis, Maulik has previously served as a senior data associate at J-POL South Asia, where he managed data for randomized controlled trials and worked on high-profile projects with institutions like the World Bank and Harvard University. His expertise spans from grassroots data collection to high-level consultancy, including his work as a UN consultant assisting African countries in digitizing their consumer price index data collection processes. Maulik's deep understanding of data and technology, combined with his passion for social impact, makes him a leading voice in the field of data-driven social change. Welcome to the podcast, Maulik.
Thank you so much, Marta, and the Dobility team for inviting me to this wonderful podcast episode. But first of all, let me congratulate and give best wishes to Dobility for starting this whole podcast series. And again, thank you so much for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts on using data and technology for social impact. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you, Maulik. I mean, it's a privilege to speak with you. And to get started, I would love to explore a bit more about your personal journey, if that's okay. And something that you mentioned is that a Bollywood movie, Swades, which I believe is also known as Homeland, influenced your path. So can you take us back to that moment, and what was it about the movie that sparked your passion?
So years back, I think 2004, I watched, when I was in my mechanical engineering, I watched this Bollywood movie. It's called Swades. This means, coming back to home. So basically, it's a story about a NASA engineer who returns to his hometown village in India. And he's basically very much deeply moved by the challenges he sees around that village, faced by the communities. So what he does is, like, he actually stays back in that village instead of going back to NASA. And he actually works for the communities. He uses technology to solve the problems of the village. So when I saw that movie, I was very much inspired by that movie, and I would say that was a light bulb moment for me. That actually clicked me, and I thought that, let me do something for the community, let me do something for the society, right? And at the same time, it also made me realize the power of technology for the society, right? I can say that technology is the most important thing if you want to, see a change in the community, or if you want to see a nation's development. And India is a developing country, we all know that. So when I was in college, I started after when I saw that movie, I started volunteering to one NGO, and I started teaching science subjects to the underprivileged community. You won't believe, but I spent nearly 10 years as a volunteer teaching them. And when I was going through that journey, I started realizing that I am much more inclined towards social work, development sector. And I thought that I am not someone who will be contributing to the society through my mechanical engineering. So then, I started after my graduation completed. I also then studied, like, I had three master's degree, out of which two were in public administration, one was in public administration, one was in development studies. And then, like, this was how I started working in the social sector. And today it has been almost 17 years. And I am fortunate enough that, not exaggerating, but directly or indirectly, I may have impacted, or maybe like more than 1 million people. I'm really impressed by that movie, and that was whole the journey. And but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. That's quite amazing. And when you started, it's been 17 years, as you mentioned. You have a wide experience with multiple international organizations, including JPOL and Dubility and many others that you are supporting. Based on your experiences and challenges, do you have any specific moments throughout these years that have shaped the way you approach data collection and bridging technology with data?
Yes. So when I was working with Dobility and JPAL, I nearly spent more than 10 years working with both of the organizations in total. I found that, many of the organizations were more focused on the programs on what to collect, right? What to collect, what type of data to collect, right? Most of their programs were based on what to collect, but many organizations were not knowing how to collect, right? So I think there is a difference. Like, people are more focused on what to collect, but least focused on how to collect. And because of that, they are not able to collect high quality data from the field, right? When I was with both these organizations, I found that there is a big void where organizations want to collect high quality data, they want to move to digital data collection, but somehow that was not possible for them. Maybe lack of resources, lack of experts to help them. And not only quality data collection, I think I also found that there are no data security policies also for them, for those type of organizations. And I found that there was a clear gap between the organizations and the digital data collection or the technology, and somehow we need to bridge this gap. And because and again, it's a very niche area, right? Very few organizations are focusing more only on this particular area to improve the data collection systems, to get high quality data and securing the data. So this was how we formed Trestle. And you won't believe, but one of the meaning of Trestle is breach. So that was the whole thought process when we were actually trying to figure out what type of work we will be doing. And this was how, like, Trestle was formed. Now it has been 6 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to dig deeper on those challenges that you are mentioning. But before that, I want to set the stage of our discussion. Some of our listeners might be beginners in this field. So I want to make sure everyone understands the context before diving deeper into digitization. Would you be able to just give us an overview of the data collection projects you typically work on?
So basically, we typically work with the organizations who are collecting data from the field. It can be surveys, longitudinal data collection. Longitudinal data collection means you are collecting data from one person over a period of time, right? So field surveys, monitoring surveys, observation studies, right? So we are actually helping the organizations who are collecting the data from the field and who are primarily using paper-based data collection and who are struggling with the data quality and real-time collection, real-time of data collection. We are supporting the organizations move from paper-based or traditional data collection to digital data collection. That is our primary work, and also supporting the organizations who are already collecting data through digital tools, but who wants to collect data through automated workflows, right? They are having complex studies and they are not able to digitize their tools on their own. We are supporting their those type of organizations. Talking about the exact work, so we are focusing on 4 types of work. First is, as I mentioned, like digitizing survey tools and moving them from paper to digital using SurveyCTO. Then another is developing dashboards for tracking the progress of the project, because nobody nowadays wants to go through 100-page report, boring reports, right? Everyone wants to see something live, something interactive, dynamic, right? That what is happening on the ground. So we are also helping the organizations build these dashboards for tracking the progress of the project. Then third thing is we are also supporting the organizations creating their monitoring and evaluation framework, right? Suppose if they are struggling with collecting the data, wants to understand how should be the program design, effectiveness and all those things, then we also support them. And the last thing, which is also very important thing, is we are also into capacity building and training, training and expert technical advice. Because if we believe that through training only we can provide a sustainable solution, otherwise they have to always rely on us or some third parties, right? So to give them a sustainable solution, we are also investing, or we are also supporting organizations with expert technical advices, lots of capacity building trainings. And in the last 5-6 years we have supported more than 100 organizations, digitized maybe 1,000 plus forms, trained over thousands of professionals, and from over 22 countries, and as I mentioned earlier, also positively impact over 1 million people worldwide. So yeah, that's the work we are doing.
That's amazing. And just to be clear, these are normally local NGOs, but also probably some research institutes. And usually these are organizations that work in various sectors: agriculture, education, health, right?
Yes. So we are not kept ourselves limited to suppose just public health or education. We are working across 10 plus different thematic sectors. See, our whole objective is to move them from paper or traditional data collection methods to digital data collection, to get high quality data from the field. So irrespective of the sector, we are supporting the organizations.
Perfect. So based on that, and because much of your work is about digitization and working with organizations that rely heavily on paper-based methods, what are the primary challenges these organizations face with these processes?
Very interesting question. From where should I start? So there are many challenges, but I think the biggest challenges that I think is they are underestimating the power of digital data collection. They are just thinking that, okay, like we are replacing paper to digital to mobile. We should not keep the digital data collection just limited to replacing. It is way beyond that, right? The biggest challenge is like they're underestimating the power of digital data collection. Then like practical challenges, if I have to then mention, like lack of basic IT skills. Like I have seen that even many of the organizations even are not much clear about as simple as Excel also, right? Then so I think they have not got proper IT skills, the limited understanding of data frameworks. So let me explain what is data frameworks. So when we are collecting the data, right, we should know that there should be a unique ID, right, through which you can link. Then there should be some logical conditions that when should this question be skipped, when this question should be asked. Suppose if they are collecting the data of let's say list of states, list of countries, right? it should be a close-ended question, right? Otherwise, if people are writing the spelling, every time they will find a new spelling of a particular state or a country. So who will clean all this data, right? So understanding that data frameworks is also one of the biggest challenge. So everything is very much, a traditional, like, so I think once they start adapting all these things, I think then only they will be able to collect high quality data. So I think these are also one of the challenges. So lots of preparatory work we have to do, or I would say prerequisite work we have to do before even, onboarding them onto digital data collection tools. Also, I have found that, one thing they have neglected is the data security of the respondents. If you see, like, there is no policy with the organizations that how they are securing the data, the privacy of a respondent, right? So plus there is also no data monitoring systems or plan that how they will be collecting high quality data from the field, right? So I think these are some of the challenges that they are facing. Once they start figuring out addressing these challenges, only then they are able to go to a next level to digital data collection.
That makes a lot of sense. And also, just to provide some context, I think it's important to mention why data quality and monitoring, for example, is so important, and especially on longitudinal data collection, which is a common case you work on. You were mentioning the unique ID, for example. All of this is extremely important when you are collecting data over a period of time. So for the same respondent, you will be collecting different data points over time. And it's important to have a unique ID so that you can connect this data, so that you can say the data that I collected today for this person, and the data that I collected tomorrow is from this person, and you can connect all these data points into the same respondent. And that's why unique ID is so important. And that is why also monitoring is important, because these data collection processes, they usually take a while. So taking a look at real-time data is so important so that you can take actionable, so they can take action steps towards making sure that your data is accurate and reliable. I think it's important to also explain why these aspects are so important for this specific context, right?
Exactly. Like, what if I were to just give an example? I remember one of the organizations was, they were not having the unique ID. They were having the unique ID, but it was not unique. On that unique ID, they collected the data of different person, and then they were trying to see what is happening, and like they completely messed up with that data. So yes, it's a very common challenge, and I don't understand why, like, people are not more focused on they don't realize the importance of unique ID. So yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So maybe now based on these challenges, you can share some examples of situations you have experienced where you saw technology improving significantly all these aspects that we have been discussing. Data quality, data security, even resources management, for example.
Basically, like how we can, how technology can improve that situation. That's what.
Mm-hmm. And if you have stories, if you have real examples on how you saw technology improving that, it would be amazing to share.
See, to be honest with you, technology alone cannot solve any problems. Actually, the organization's willingness to embrace technology is also equally important, right? And not only organization, but also the field team, right? So when organization and field teams are genuinely committed to adopting new technologies, I think half the battle is already won. So if I can actually remember like 2-3 situations, where the organizations were heavily relied on paper-based data collection, and like how they face the issue because they were not using technology. So uh, basically, like 3-4 years back, like one not-for-profit organization who works for a community development, they reached out to us and they asked us to do some data entry of paper, and we just saw that paper, and like handwriting was not readable, half of the papers were missing, and some of the people were using some other formats. So we asked them that, like, no, like, what is this, like, no, even if it's just an Excel entry, how we are going to do that? And they also found that, oh my God, what is this like? And this was the first time in so many years that they actually spent time in seeing that what the data is. And you won't believe, they have to just throw all that data, and they had to again go to the field to collect the data in a proper format. Even in one another example, there was a education project in my own state, where they were collecting the data. They were doing the longitudinal data collection of all the kids, and in the name they were not having any unique ID. In the name they were just capturing the surname or the second name, last name, right? So I asked them this question, that if you just taking the surname, right, and if you ask, like, let's say, who is this surname person, out of 10 kids, like 3 or 4 kids will be there that yes I am. How you are going to track that person in the next phase, like maybe in the midline or the end line? And they had no clue. And forget about that education. I remember we were also working with one NGO who was working in the women empowerment. They were actually more focused on how to improve the domestic violation situation. And you won't believe, when I asked them that why you're not using paper-based tools, they said that no, we are not confident about the privacy and security of the mobile phones. And I said, okay. And then I asked them that, no, how you are collecting the data, where your data is kept. They said, like, it's all in the warehouse. When I saw the warehouse, all the booklets were very completely open, and on the top of the booklets, all their personal information like name, mobile number, address, everything was there. I asked that lady that, is this secured? And you won't believe, the next question she asked me was, Maulik, may I know what is the cost of a SurveyCTO subscription? So my question here is, like, if you know that you are not following a proper way to collect high quality data, then why you are still continuing? You already know. Why you need someone like me to intervene and ask you all these questions? You yourself are the best judge for this, right? So yeah, like, these are some of the interesting situations where I thought that if technology was used, things would have been completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we were able to gather some incredible insights in terms of considering all the benefits of technology, why organizations struggle so much into adopting a new technology and integrating a new technology. And you already mentioned a few things. So you mentioned sometimes lack of resources, the IT skills even. You mentioned this. Maybe these, what you mentioned now, maybe it's also changing to the unknown. So it's more, maybe there is some information missing to these organizations. Do you feel there are other challenges besides this?
Yeah, so if you remember, when I was in my last point, when I was talking about willingness to adapt, right, I mentioned 2 points. One is willingness of the organization, and second is willingness of the field staff. Because I think the biggest challenge most of the organizations face, other than all the previous challenges, once they adopt the digital tools, they are confident that yes, we want to go with digital tools. But when it comes to adapting it on the ground, they usually face big resistance from the field staff. The reason why they face this type of challenge, because the field staff now thinks that somebody's managing them, somebody's doing a micromanagement, right? And to be honest, they know that they cannot now fudge the data, right? They cannot just collect any type of data, right? Everything is monitored. And suppose tools like SurveyCTO also have timestamps, GPS, then audio recording also, images also, you can also capture images also, right? So they think that there is no way to skip out of all this thing, right? So I think that is also one of the challenges that the organizations are facing when they are integrating technology to convince the field team that. So suppose if I have to give a solution, like usually we sit with the field team, we discuss with them that, like, hey, like, we are not here to micromanage you, right? We are here to support you, right? We are here to make your lives easy, right? And then once they start seeing the results, that instead of, let's say, 1 hour data collection, now it is just 15-minute data collection, they also think that, yes, oh, this is actually a good tool, right? Every day, suppose, collecting all these hard copies, taking the bag, going back to the office to submit, especially in rainy season, winter season, right? Now it's just click, data is gone. So I think that is also very much important. And also one another challenge that I find with integration is, it's called that half knowledge is always dangerous, right? So some of the organizations, if they start knowing that, oh, this is also possible, then they will implement everything inside the SurveyCTO form without thoroughly testing, and also without understanding that whether this is required at all or not. So I think it's better to have a step-by-step approach instead of implementing everything on just one shot. So I think these are two things that I feel that these are, when you are adapting any technology, integrating any technology, these two things are one of the crucial things that comes into the picture.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So now I'm wondering, how do you work with the organizations? And you already mentioned a little bit about it, but so how do you tackle these challenges when you support organizations in digitizing their data collection workflows?
Yeah, so when the organization is new to digital data collection, or suppose if they don't have much resources with them, then we support them different types of additional services other than just digitization. Like suppose we focus more on training the managers, right? We have lots of training of trainers, right? We train their managers. We also do lots of field staff training, right? Sometimes we also manage their SurveyCTO console, like, because if they're not comfortable with that, then we also manage their server console of SurveyCTO. Then we also provide them the monitoring, real-time monitoring from the field as well. We do lots of data monitoring for them. Sometimes we also help them in analyzing the data that they are exporting from SurveyCTO, right? In some of the rare cases, we have also helped them with the report writing as well, creating dashboards as well. So basically, we identify what are the things that they want and which resources they are lacking, and based on that, we provide those type of different services.
Mm-hmm. So it's a lot about technical support. It's about training. But something that you mentioned before, and I think it's quite important, is communication, right? How to communicate with these organizations, because a lot of these organizations, they are afraid, because it's always a risk, right? This is always a change to the status quo. So how important do you feel the communication with these organizations?
Yes, it is the most important thing, the communication, because we all know that, and not only technology, even if it can be as simple as, let's say, like, driving a new car, right? We are always skeptical, right? So whenever anyone wants to adapt a new technology, right, they are always skeptical. And I think that is the weakest phase during this whole thing. So at that time, if there is lack of communication from our side, right, then I think it can completely change the whole scenario. So what we usually do is like we also engage more stakeholders, right? We also share them more success stories, right, from the similar domains, right? So and sometimes if they want, if the other organization is also ready, then also we connect with them, so they can also call them. They can even visit their teams and see like how they were able to successfully implement SurveyCTO. And and also like we also identify like which are the organization members which can be properly trained, like who can be easily convinced. Uh, and we know that usually like the most affected people are the field staff people, right? So we first convince them also that how it will make your life easy, and then I don't know, it's called a bottom up approach, but yeah, something like that. And and also, when we talk about SurveyCTO, right? In India, if I were to give one example, most of the research organizations, NGOs knows SurveyCTO, right? And also, even if they don't know SurveyCTO, if we give examples of, let's say, JPAL South Asia, JPAL South Asia, IPA, World Bank, then they become much more comfortable. But yes, this this communication, collaboration with stakeholders, and patience to move to digital tools are some of the most crucial factors. I usually say that do not expect that this is a 2 minutes noodles, right? It will take time. So please be patient.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
especially because a lot of these organizations have big projects. Sometimes they have projects in multiple countries. So I think, patience is quite needed.
And usually, if I have to just add one more point, usually we ask them to only experiment with one project. Only for, let's say, 100 data collection points. Do not implement everything on day one, right? So I think it's like, step-by-step approach is also very much important in this particular transition.
Yeah. Experiment as a pilot, in a sample, in a single project, in a single country. See what happens. Write down the lessons learned. And move on. I like that. So imagine that I am an organization. I'm working for an organization that still relies heavily on paper-based methods, and I want to transition. What would you say are the key aspects for the success of my digitization? For those that are listening and would like to know, what are the ingredients for a successful story on digitizing data collection?
So you want to move from paper to digital data collection, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
What do I need to take into consideration? So I think you already mentioned a few things, right? So maybe I would need to take a look at my staff skills and see if they need to be trained on specific IT skills, for example. What are other ingredients?
Yeah, usually, so whenever we start, suppose if I have to give a live example, suppose what we will do is we will start from the right side, not from the left side. So we will first think about what is a well-planned exit strategy, right? That at the end, what should be the end goal, right? So the end goal is make your capacity build, right? The end goal is you and your team does everything on your own without relying on any third party. So we start from that, and then from there, right side, we actually go that, okay, like, no, we need to do this thing. What are the steps that will be required? What are the resources that will be required? So we start from the exit plan, and then we go towards entry point. But yes, like, no, we do lots of trainings. I think if the organization is really passionate and if they're having extensive data collection, then we usually go for a training. We start with the training, right? And if possible, in-person trainings are very much efficient compared to online, because after COVID, we all know that people are not much comfortable with online trainings and all those things. So if possible, if it's an online training, then yes, we start with that training. We do the SurveyCTO training. Sometimes we have also done trainings on Excel, right? If they are not properly having their IT skills, we have also trained on Excel. Once we and then we also do the form programming for them, right? So we do not just heavily rely them on doing all the programming, but we do all the things parallel. So like training of trainers, like field staff, digitizing their tools, right? And then working everything simultaneously, and also doing hand-holding support, providing hand-holding support, right? So it can be 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, but we also do hand-holding support. And day by day, or I would say month by month, that hand-holding support will reduce. So let's say it's like 80% in the first month, maybe after 6 months it may be reduced to 20%. But we actually follow the exit strategy. And during this whole transition, we ensure that we are always there for any type of handholding support, and we also document everything, right? So that can be given back to the organization, that once we are out of this whole space, this is how you can continue collecting high quality data from the field independently. So I think for you, like, that will be a similar case. So we'll start from right and then go to left.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So I see a lot about this handholding, the support, the training, making sure that they already have the foundations of the tools that you program, so they already have the basics, and obviously after the training and the handholding, they will be able to customize it if needed. Do you have any also recommendation in terms of how important it is the collaboration with stakeholders, for example, which is something that we haven't discussed so far?
Yeah, I already talked something on the stakeholders. I think it is very much important because if there is a proper collaboration between all the stakeholders, then only we can able to successfully implement the digital tools. So I think collaboration, especially the implementing partners or the implementing members, are very much important. They play a very successful role in this.
Do you have any specific successful story that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, like every project is having its own unique story. But like 2-3 stories are very much close to my heart that I would like to share. So one, remember I was talking about this one example where one organization was collecting paper-based data collection, and they approached us for data entry. So when we asked them that the handwriting is poor, there is some of the papers are missing, and even the language was only English, and though it was collected in multiple states where different local languages were there. So we asked them that, no, why don't you try SurveyCTO, right? So they actually like this whole idea. So we digitized their all tools. We added languages, right? Then while going through the survey form also, we realized that the questions were also very, very much vague, right? They were not clear. They were not actually giving proper direction. So we asked them that, no, this is not how it should be asked. So they asked us that, no, why don't you connect us with some subject expert? So we connected them with the subject expert, and the whole questionnaire was redesigned, and we even created a dashboard. And you won't believe, so when they implemented it on the ground, they got outstanding results from the field. Like, they were actually able to know what is happening in the field, because we added GPS, images, audios, everything. So previously the data was collected by their own team, and they were having this rating. So everything was like 80, 90 rating. But when they actually implemented this, they found that the maximum rating was only 30 or 40%. So they didn't like it, but actually they found that, oh, this is the reality. So because of all these things, and when they saw the data on the dashboard, visualized the data on the dashboard, they found that the story is completely different from what they were following since so many years. And then based on that visualizations, that dashboard indicators, they started working on the ground completely with a new dimension, and they found outstanding results. And the community started realizing their efforts. Previously they were not allowing them to enter the village, but now they started realizing that. And it was a big project, like thousands and thousands of respondents were there. So we found that yes, like this is what we are doing, this is where we wanted to see the impact. And now it has been almost, this is third or fourth year, and they are continuing with us. So because they are also very much excited with all these results. So I think that was one important success story. Another thing was like I remember one of the organizations who was working with the public health. They reached out to us, and they were facing issues with the vaccination. With the newborn child in India, like when a newborn child a child is born, I think up to 24 months, they have to take, I think, more than 15 or 16 different types of vaccines. And in some of the rural parts of India, like they were not taking the vaccines because they were not having awareness, and like there was nobody to monitor it on real time, that whether the vaccination was happening or not. So they reached out to us. We designed the tools for them, digitized the tools for them. We also created a dashboard for this whole vaccination uh, vaccination mechanism. And we designed in a way that the enumerator was getting the updates that on this day you have to visit this particular child for this vaccination. And the kids were almost 50,000 kids. So we were so happy that we were able to reach out to all those kids who may not have been reached, who may not have been fully vaccinated if this type of dashboard was not in the place. And in the same project, there were also a few interventions with pregnant women. Everyone had to, all the enumerators had to conduct some medical thing. I don't know what exactly it was, but some medical thing every trimester of the pregnant lady. And again, they were also facing these issues. And because of all this dashboard and live monitoring, we were able to successfully reach out to all those thousands of pregnant women. So I think for me, I think that was very close to my heart. And and the last one recently was also a very beautiful one. So one of the organizations who is working with this smokeless stoves, I don't know if you're aware, but there is a new concept called smokeless stoves, which gives very less pollution. So they wanted to give these free stoves to some rural beneficiaries. And they wanted to do a needs assessment study. So needs assessment study means like understanding whether they require this type of smokeless stove or not. And they wanted to reach out to 100,000 respondents, 100,000 people in rural villages. So they reached out to us, and they told us that through paper they were expecting it will take nearly 10 to 12 months to collect the data. So when we proposed them SurveyCTO, and they liked the whole idea, and then they collected the data, you won't believe that whole data collection was completed in just 3 months. So imagine, like, we have saved at least 9 months of indoor pollution. At least 9 months of indoor pollutions to all those thousands of people who got that stove. So I think these 2-3 stories are very much close to my heart. I don't know, like, but I can actually see that through SurveyCTO, through our efforts, we are seeing that social impact to all these thousands of people, 100,000s of people.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was too much, but yeah, like these 3 ones.
It's never too much when you are sharing those stories. They are really impactful. So thank you for sharing those. So we are almost finishing the interview, and I wanted to ask you if there are any emerging technologies or methodologies you are most excited about for the upcoming years.
It's not a new term that I'll be talking, but everyone knows about this so-called new technologies. It's called artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I'm excited to see how this artificial intelligence and machine learning actually contributes to the well-being of the society, and without compromising privacy of the respondent. See, using artificial intelligence and machine learning is a good thing, but we also have to ensure that how it is contributing to the well-being of the whole society, right? And also ensuring that it is not compromising on their private and confidential information, right? So I think the the early trends that I'm seeing is not good trends. I am seeing that it's actually interfering with the privacy of the privacy of all the people. But I really look forward to see that whether it is benefiting to the society, or I don't know how it is behaving. But yes, I look forward to ML and AI technologies.
Okay. And for other professionals listening that are passionate as you about bridging technology and data, do you have any specific advice for them how to navigate this field?
Oh, it's a big question. To be honest, I'm not the right person to answer this. Uh, but I can try actually. So I already shared a number of things, like what challenges that they are facing, what are the different ways how it can be addressed. But if I were to just give some of the basic tips and tricks, I think uh, instead of focusing on hundreds of challenges at one time, I think they should focus on one challenge at a time, right? I think that is one thing. Then don't blindly follow any type of approaches, right? Usually what we do, I already mentioned in a few minutes back also, that do some experiment, right? Evaluate that experiment and see whether this is working or not. If it is working, then implement it at different locations or different projects, and this is how you can scale it up. Again, learn, see what is working, what is not working, and then just based on that learning, skill it up. If it is not working, then see what are the other options that are working, right? And also, one thing that I have found, that people are not documenting things. I don't know what's the problem, but they are not documenting all the different things, best practices, right? So if I have to give one tip, like, people should document best practices for, let's say, data collection, data security, data monitoring. And also, like, it's not only about documenting, we also have to ensure that it is followed on the ground, right? So the I think these will be some of the tips. And also, like, uh, yeah, I think many organizations, even SurveyCTO, right? SurveyCTO has already prepared so many guidelines on collecting high quality data, preparing data monitoring plans. SurveyCTO, JPAL, IPA, right? So I think they should go through all their resources. They should listen to their webinars and see what everyone is following. What are the best practices that everyone is following? I think those are some of the tips. But again, like, this is just my own understanding. It's a vast subject, right? So I'm not the right representative to share the proper advice, but these are some of the basic learnings that I have.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any key resource that you think is helpful for people? And a resource can be anything. It can be a book, a movie, guidelines, a working paper, anything at all.
Yeah, very interesting question. uh, See, for data collection, SurveyCTO is the only tool. uh, but yes, for I think data cleaning, analysis, or visualization, usually I work on platforms like Python. Everyone knows about Python, RStudio. I'm also a big fan of Google Data Studio. Again, it's a free platform. So when we are doing capacity building of especially NGOs, they want platforms which are free, right, and easy to use. So I think RStudio, Python, Google Data Studio, and also there is this new platform. It's called Jamovi. I just had the training of Jamovi, and you don't require any type of coding compared to R or Python. So I think if I have to talk on certain tools, I think this type of tools will be very much useful when you are into surveys, monitoring and evaluation research, like Python, RStudio, Google Data Studio, Looker Studio, and Jamovi. And for best practices and resources, I already mentioned, like, you can always refer to SurveyCTO's support articles. Then JPAL and IPA support articles on research methodologies. I think those are very interesting one. And talking about book, it has been some time since I have read a good book, but I think people working in our sector, especially like who wants to work closely with the policy makers, or who wants to remove poverty. I think there is a book from this Nobel Prize winner Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo. It's called Poor Economics. So I think I really like that book, is especially like how Professor Abhijit Banerjee has shared his views on women empowerment, equality, inclusiveness, then importance of education, like importance of nutritious food, and also the insurance, like what is the importance of insurance to remove poverty, right? I think if one goes through that book, I think when they are implementing all these surveys on the ground, many of the things will be very much clear to them, right? They will also know that what is happening, what should happen, and he has also shared his view on randomized control trial. So it's a technical thing, so I'm not talking on that. But I think for researchers, randomized control trials is also very much a good topic to learn and understand how research has been conducted across the world. So yeah, I can only suggest that Poor Economics book. Other than that, I don't have much recommendations. Yeah.
That's already incredible. Thank you so much. And thank you, Maulik. It was lovely to speaking with you today. Thank you for sharing your story and your experience.
Thank you, Marta and Dobility team for hosting me. I'm really grateful to you for giving me this platform to share my thoughts on data and technology gaps and how it can be used for a social impact. So really very much grateful to everyone for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you again.
Survey and Beyond, the data collection podcast, is brought to you by SurveyCTO. To find out more about SurveyCTO and how it ensures reliable, secure, and scalable data collection, visit www.surveycto.com. And make sure to search for Survey and Beyond, the data collection podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at SurveyCTO, thanks for listening.